My daughter-in-law raised her champagne glass and announced to 40 guests that she and my son had sold my lake house. I set down my cup of coffee and looked at my son. Tarek wouldn't meet my eyes. He stared at his shoes like a child caught stealing cookies. Vanessa was still talking, her voice carrying across the backyard like she was addressing a boardroom instead of family and friends. The afternoon sun sparkled off the lake behind her. She had picked a beautiful day for her betrayal. "Robert, isn't it wonderful?" she said, turning to me with that practiced smile, the one she used on clients. "We got a full-price offer. $1.2 million. We close in 30 days. 40 faces turned toward me. 40 people waiting for me to smile and clap and pretend this was good news. I didn't smile. "Vanessa," I said, my voice quiet, "that's quite an announcement." She laughed, light, breezy, like I was an old man making a joke. "I know it's sudden, but you've been talking about downsizing for years. Derek and I thought we'd handle everything for you. No stress, no hassle. Just sign the papers and move on." Just sign the papers. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a folded document, the copy she had filed with the county recorder's office, the forged quitclaim deed dated May 20th. "This deed," I said, holding it up so the guests could see, "has my signature on it." Vanessa's smile flickered, just for a half second. Then it returned, brighter than before. "Of course it does, Robert. You signed it last month." "I didn't." The word landed like a stone in still water. The guests nearest me stopped breathing. Vanessa's eyes went hard. "Excuse me?" "I said I didn't sign this deed," I repeated. "I never signed it. I never saw it. I never authorized this sale." Derek finally looked up. His face was pale. He knew. "Dad," he started, "maybe we should talk about this inside." "No," I said. "I think we should talk about it right here." I turned to the buffet table near the sliding glass door. A man in a dark suit stood there holding a folder of his own. He had arrived 30 minutes earlier, introduced as an old friend from my surveying days. His real name was Marcus Chen. His real job was title officer at the El Dorado County Recorder's Office. "Marcus," I said, "would you like to explain?" He stepped forward. The guest party for him like water around a ship. "Good afternoon," Marcus said. His voice was calm, professional. "I'm here because Mr. Hayes contacted my office on June 2nd to report a fraudulent quitclaim deed filed against his property. I ran an investigation. The signature on the deed does not match Mr. Hayes' signature on file with the county. The handwriting on the document belongs to a different person entirely." He paused, looked directly at Vanessa. "On June 12th, I voided the deed. It has no legal standing. The listing was unauthorized and cannot result in a valid sale without Mr. Hayes' consent." Vanessa's champagne glass slipped from her fingers. It hit the deck and shattered. "That's impossible," she said. Her voice cracked. "I have the paperwork." The buyer signed. Everything was in order. "You forged paperwork," Marcus said. "I have the original deed with me," marked Boyd. "Would you like me to explain the forgery to your guests in detail?" 40 people stared at Vanessa. 40 people watched her face turn from white to red to something gray and hollow. Derek had his hands in his pockets. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. I walked past Vanessa without a word. I picked up the coffee cup I had set down 3 minutes earlier. The coffee was still warm. "Oh, sweetheart," I said, turning back to face her. "We haven't even started." I knew I needed to start from the beginning. Not the party, not the toast. The moment I found out, 19 days before, on a quiet Monday morning, I was sitting on my porch with a cup of coffee. The lake was still. Just the sound of birds and the water lapping against the dock. Then the mail truck came. I walked down to the mailbox at the end of the driveway. There was a certified letter inside. Thick envelope. Official return address. I signed for it and opened it standing right there. It was from a real estate agent named Jennifer Walsh. She was thanking me for listing my lake house with her firm. She wrote that she was delighted to represent me and that showings would begin that week. I read it twice. My hands were steady. My mind was not. I had never met Jennifer Walsh. I had never signed a listing agreement. I had not put my house on the market, but someone had. I walked back inside and called the number on the letterhead. A woman answered. I identified myself and asked who had signed the listing agreement. She put me on hold. When she came back, her voice was different, softer. Careful, she said the listing was signed by a Vanessa Hayes. My daughter-in-law. Jennifer said Vanessa had presented a quitclaim deed showing the property had been transferred to Derek Hayes and Vanessa Hayes jointly. She said the signature on the deed was mine. I said thank you. I hung up. I sat down at my kitchen table. The lake looked different now. It looked like something that could be taken. I called Linda Hartwell that afternoon. She had been my paralegal for 20 years before we both retired. She knew more about property law than most attorneys. I told her what happened. She said 2 words. Get proof. 2 days later, on Wednesday, May 28th, I drove to the El Dorado County Recorder's office in Placerville. I filled out a request for a copy of the quitclaim deed dated May 20, 2025. The clerk brought it to me in a manila envelope. I opened it at a desk by the window. My name was at the top, Robert Hayes, and next to it a signature. It looked like my handwriting. It almost was. The loops were right. The slant was close. The capital F had the same flourish. But the pressure was wrong. My signature leans slightly right. This one was straight up and down. Small difference. But for a surveyor, differences are everything. I drove the deed to a handwriting expert in South Lake Tahoe. A woman named Patricia Olson. She had worked with Linda on cases before. I paid her $600 for a rush analysis. She promised results in 3 days. 3 days felt like 3 weeks. I stayed busy. I cleaned the garage. I checked my bank statements online. That is when I found the second piece. There was a wire transfer of $50,000 into an account I did not recognize. The sending institution was a title company out of Reno. The memo line read, Earnest Money Deposit, 2450 Lakeshore Drive. My address. But the account was in Vanessa's name. I could not access it. So I called Linda. She said, send me the account number. I know someone at the bank. Give me a day. 24 hours later, Linda emailed me a PDF. It was Vanessa's transaction history. She had already spent the money. $20,000 went to a credit card payment, $15,000 to a car dealership, $10,000 to a travel agency. $5,000 in cash withdrawals, $50,000 vanished in 6 days. Patricia called me on Friday, May 30. Her voice was calm. Professional. She said the signature was a forgery. High confidence, 99.7%. She said the forger had traced the original signature from a birthday card I had sent Derek 3 years ago. Vanessa must have kept it. She must have planned this for a long time. I thanked Patricia. I hung up. I sat in my living room and looked at the photograph of my wife on the mantel. She had been gone for 7 years. She would have known what to do. But she was not here, so I had to figure it out myself. On Monday, June 2nd, I called the county recorder's office again. I asked to speak to Marcus Chen. He was the senior title officer, a man I had worked with years ago when I surveyed a parcel for the county. I remembered him as competent and honest. I needed both. Marcus listened to the whole story. He did not interrupt. When I finished, he said, "Bring me the deed, the handwriting report, and your ID. I will start the review." "But Robert, I cannot stamp it void until I go through the chain. Give me a week and a half. And you need more than the deed. You need a recording. You need her admitting it." I asked how I was supposed to get that. He said, "Call her. Tell her you found the listing. Act confused. Let her talk. Record it." I told him that might be illegal. He said California is a 2-party consent state. But the law has an exception for evidence of a crime. And forgery is a crime. I called Vanessa that night. I did not tell her I knew. I said, "Vanessa, I got a strange letter from a real estate agent. Something about a listing." "Did you talk to them?" She laughed. That easy practice laugh. "Oh, Dad, that's just a mistake. I was thinking about listing my own place and maybe they got confused. Don't worry about it." I let her talk. She kept going. She said she would handle it. She said I did not need to worry about anything. She said, "You're getting older, Dad. Let us take care of things." I said, "Okay." I said, "Thank you." The recording was not evidence of a crime. It was just her being smooth, being slippery. I needed more. So on Tuesday, June 10th, I called her again. I told her I wanted to confirm the party details. She was cheerful, grateful. She said she and Derek were so excited. She said the party was going to be perfect. I let her talk, and this time she gave me what I needed. "Dad," she said, "I have to tell you something. Derek and I have been working on a surprise for you. We are going to sell the lake house and use the money to buy a bigger place for all of us. You will not have to worry about anything. Just relax and enjoy the party." I asked her how she planned to sell a house I owned. She paused. "Just a second." Then she said, "I have the deed, Dad. It is all taken care of." I said, "We will talk at the party." I hung up. I saved the recording. I drove back to Placerville on June 12th. Marcus met me at the counter. He took the original quitclaim deed and my identification. He stamped the deed with a red stamp that said VOI'd in capital letters. He signed and dated it. He filed the copy in the official records. "It is done," he said. "But Robert, if she tries to sell this house, the title search will still show a red flag. You need to stop the sale before it goes further." I asked him to come to the party. I told him I was planning something. He smiled for the first time. "I would not miss it." I walked out of the recorder's office into the June sunshine. Oh! I had the voided deed in my hand. I had the handwriting report in my bag. I had Linda's PDF showing $50,000 spent in 6 days. I had a recording of her admitting the scheme. And I had the calmest night of sleep I had experienced in weeks, because I knew what was coming, and I knew she did not. The sun was going down over the lake when I knocked on Derek's door. It was Friday, June 13th, 7 o'clock at night. The party was 19 hours away. I had not shown Derek all the evidence. I had given him every chance to come to me. He had not taken it. So I went to him. Derek opened the door looking tired. His shirt was untucked. There was a smear of barbecue sauce on his collar. "Dad," he said, "what are you doing here?" "We need to talk," I said. He looked over his shoulder into the house. I heard the television running. Vanessa's car was in the driveway. "Vanessa's not home," he said. "She's showing a house." "Good." He let me in. The living room was cluttered with real estate brochures and takeout containers. A half-empty bottle of whiskey sat on the coffee table. Derek did not drink, or he had not used to. I sat down on the armchair. He sat across from me on the couch. He did not look at me. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a manila envelope. I placed it on the coffee table between us. "Do you know what this is?" I said. He shook his head. I opened the envelope and pulled out the copy of the quitclaim deed. I laid it flat on the table. The ink was crisp. The date was clear. May 20th? Derek's face went gray. "I found this 16 days ago," I said. "Do you know what it says?" He did not answer. "It says I transferred my property to you and Vanessa," I said. "Dated May 20th, signed with my name." He started to speak. Nothing came out. "The problem," I said, "is that I never signed this." Derek closed his eyes. I pulled out the second document. The handwriting analysis report. "I hired an expert," I said. "Patricia Olson, office in South Lake Tahoe. She examined the signature on the deed and compared it to my known handwriting. She has 32 years of experience. She charges $600 per analysis." I slid the report across the table. "The signature on the deed is a forgery," I said. 99.7% confidence." Derek did not touch the report. He stared at it like it was a snake. "I also have a bank statement," I said. "The buyer sent Vanessa a $50,000 wire transfer as earnest money. Vanessa listed the property through Jennifer Walsh on May 22nd. 2 days after the deed was forged, I waited. $20,000 went to a credit card payment," I said. $15,000 to a car dealership in Reno. $10,000 to a travel agency. $5,000 in cash." Derek put his head in his hands. Do you know what this is called? I said. Forgery, fraud, identity theft. Those are felonies. Each one carries up to 3 years in state prison. Dad, he said. His voice was barely a whisper. I am not finished, I said. I pulled out a third document. A notarized voidment from the El Dorado County Recorder's Office. Marcus Chen's signature was at the bottom. The deed was voided on June 12th, I said. I said. It is as if it never existed. The property does not belong to you or Vanessa. It belongs to me. Derek looked up. His eyes were red. How did you know? He said. I received a certified letter from a real estate agent, I said, thanking me for listing the property. I had not listed the property. He nodded, slowly. I drove to Placerville 2 mornings later, I said. I pulled the deed file. I saw the signature. I knew it was not mine. Silence. Now I need to know one thing, I said. Did you know about this? Derek looked at the floor. The ceiling, the whiskey bottle. Anywhere but me. Did you know my signature was forged? I said. Yes. The word landed like a stone dropped into still water. You knew? I said. She told me she was going to do it, he said. She said it was the only way. She said you would never agree to sell the house. And she needed the money. For what? For a bigger house, he said. She wanted to move the family somewhere nicer. She said we could bring you with us, that you would understand. I would have understood if she asked, I said. She knew you would say no, he said. She said you would never leave the lake. You loved that house more than anything. More than anything, I repeated. She said once it was done, you would accept it, he said. You would get over it. Did you tell her to stop? He did not answer. When did she forge the signature? I said. She used a birthday card, he said. One you gave me. She traced it. My stomach dropped. She told me after she had done it, he said. She said it was already filed. It was nothing I could do. There is always something you can do, I said. Like what? He said. Turn in my wife? Destroy my marriage? Destroy your marriage, I said. She forged a legal document. She stole $50,000. She listed a property that does not belong to her. She committed multiple felonies, and you sat there. I did not know what to do. You could have told me. I was scared, he said. Of what? Losing everything, he said. Vanessa, the kids, the house, my life, everything I built. You built it on a lie, I said. He looked away. I stood up. Here is what is going to happen, I said. There is a party tomorrow, your anniversary party. 40 guests are coming here to celebrate you and Vanessa. He nodded. You are going to stand up in front of those guests, I said. You are going to tell them the truth. You are going to tell them that Vanessa forged my signature, that she tried to steal my house, that you knew about it. His face went pale again. I cannot do that, he said. You have until 2 o'clock tomorrow, I said. That gives you 19 hours. But I did give you a full 24 hours earlier today at 2. You called me. You said you needed more time. So I came here to give you one more chance. What if I do not? Then I will handle it my way, I said, publicly, legally, completely. He stared at me. You have until 2 o'clock tomorrow, I said. When the party starts, you make your choice. I walked to the door. Dad, he said. I turned. I am sorry, he said. Sorry does not undo forgery, Derek. I left. The door closed behind me. I stood on the porch and looked at the lake. The water was calm. The sky was turning purple. I waited for him to come out after me. He did not. I drove home. I made myself a cup of coffee. I sat on my dock and watched the stars come out. I had given him a full day to do the right thing. He had wasted it. Now he had 19 hours left. Derek let me leave without another word. I knew then that he had made his choice. And I had made mine. The morning of the party arrived clear and warm. I woke at 6, same as always. I made coffee and stood at the kitchen window, watching the sun rise over the lake. The water was glassy. A heron stood motionless at the edge of the dock. I felt calm, not peaceful. Calm. By 10 o'clock, the caterers had arrived. They set up tables on the back deck. They arranged white linens and flowers. I walked through the house, straightening picture frames, adjusting a vase on the mantel. The lake house looked the way it always did. Solid. Mine. Vanessa arrived at 11:30. She came through the front door carrying a bundle of helium balloons, her phone pressed to her ear. She wore a cream-colored sundress and heels. Her hair was curled. She looked like the host of a television show about perfect families. She ended her call and smiled at me. "Robert, you're up early. You should be relaxing." "I prefer to stay busy," I said. She laughed. "Well, today is going to be wonderful. I have a few surprises planned." I picked up my coffee cup. I look forward to them. She did not hear the weight in that sentence. She never did. She walked past me into the kitchen and began directing the caterers, touching the flowers, adjusting the silverware. Everything had to be perfect, her perfect. Derek arrived at 12:15. He came in through the side door, hands in his pockets. He was wearing a blue button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up. His red eyes made him look as though he had not slept well. He saw me standing in the living room. He opened his mouth, closed it, nodded once, a small dip of the chin. I nodded back. That was our entire conversation. The first guest arrived at 12:45. By 1:15, the backyard was full. I counted heads. First 34, then 37, then 40. Neighbors, old friends from my surveying days, a few of Derek's colleagues from the accounting firm. Vanessa had invited her agents from the real estate office. They stood in a cluster near the grill, drinks in hand, laughing too loudly. I made the rounds. I shook hands. I accepted compliments on the house, the view, the weather. A woman I did not recognize told me how lucky I was to have such a thoughtful daughter-in-law. I smiled. I said nothing. Marcus Chan arrived at 1:30. He came alone, wearing a blazer and no tie. He found me near the buffet table. We shook hands. Neither of us said anything about why he was really there. Instead, he complimented the potato salad and asked about the dock repairs. A casual observer would have seen two old friends catching up over lunch. I positioned him near the far end of the buffet, close to the sliding glass door. He understood. He took a plate, filled it with food, and settled into a chair with a clear view of the whole yard. At 1:45, I went inside to refill my coffee. I stopped in my bedroom. I took out my phone, opened the voice memo app, and checked the recording. It was there. 43 seconds of Vanessa's voice, clear as morning. I locked the phone and put it in my shirt pocket. I walked back to the yard. Vanessa was circulating, touching elbows, laughing, refilling glasses. She worked the crowd like a professional. Every few minutes, I saw her eyes flick to me, checking, measuring, making sure the old man was not causing trouble. I stayed by the deck railing. I watched my son. Derek stood by the grill, holding a spatula he was not using. A neighbor was talking to him about landscaping. Derek nodded at the wrong moments. His shoulders were tight. He glanced at the house, at the lake, at his shoes. Anywhere but at me. At 1:58, Vanessa climbed the 2 steps onto the deck. She tapped her champagne glass with a spoon. The sound cut through the chatter like a knife. "Everyone, can I have your attention, please?" The conversations faded. Heads turned. She stood at the center of the deck, beaming, her arm raised. Tarek had moved to the bottom of the steps. He looked pale. Vanessa waited until the silence was absolute. "First, thank you all for coming," she said. "This house has been in the Hayes family for 30 years. And today, Derek and I wanted to share something special with you." I set down my coffee on the railing. I felt the phone in my shirt pocket. I saw Marcus put down his fork. I saw Derek's hand grip the stair rail. Vanessa took a breath. Her smile widened. "And I waited." She tapped her glass again. The chatter died completely. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate 10 years with us," Vanessa said. Her voice was warm, practiced. This house has been in the Hayes family for 3 decades. And Derek and I had been thinking a lot about what family means, about legacy, about moving forward. I kept my hand still on the railing. So we wanted to share some news with all of you this afternoon. She paused for effect. We decided to sell the lake house. The guests murmured. Some looked at me. Others looked at each other. Vanessa kept going. It's bittersweet, but it's the right decision for our family. We've already accepted an offer. $1.2 million. The sale closes in 30 days. She raised her glass higher. 2 new beginnings. A few people lifted their glasses. Most didn't. They were watching me. I picked up my coffee. I took a sip. I set it down. Vanessa's smile faltered for half a second. Oh, Dad? Don't you have anything to say? I looked at her. Then I looked at Derek at the bottom of the steps. He was staring at the ground. Yes, I said. Actually, I do. I reached into my shirt pocket and pulled out my phone. I held it up so everyone could see it. Vanessa forgot to mention one detail, I said. She forged my signature on a quitclaim deed. She transferred ownership of this house to herself and Derek without my knowledge or consent. The silence was absolute. A certified letter from a real estate agent tipped me off 19 days ago, I said. Her name was Jennifer Walsh. She thanked me for listing the property. Vanessa's face went white. I contacted the El Dorado County Recorder's Office, I continued. I obtained a copy of the fraudulent deed. I hired a handwriting expert named Patricia Olson in South Lake Tahoe. She confirmed the forgery with 99.7% confidence. I turned to Marcus Chen. He was standing near the buffet table, hands clasped in front of him. This is Marcus Chen, I said, Senior Title Officer at the Recorder's Office. I called him on June 2nd. He voided the deed. The house was never transferred. Marcus gave a small nod. Vanessa's hand went to her mouth. Her champagne glass slipped from her fingers. It hit the deck and shattered. Wine and glass sprayed across the boards. You're lying, she said. Her voice cracked. You're an old man who doesn't know what he's talking about. I tapped my phone. A voice filled the backyard. Vanessa's voice. Robert, I really think this is the best move for everyone. The market's hot right now. You could get 1.2 easily. I already have an interested buyer. Just sign the papers and let me handle everything. My own voice followed, calm and recorded. Vanessa, I never agreed to list the house. I never signed anything. Her voice again, softer now, almost pleading. I know, I got a little ahead of myself. But once you see the offer, you'll understand. It's a done deal, Robert. The $50,000 earnest money already cleared. There's no going back. The recording ran 43 seconds. I let every word play. When it ended, no one moved. I looked at Vanessa. The $50,000 you spent in 3 weeks went to a credit card payment, a car dealership in Reno, a travel agency, and $5,000 in cash. I have the bank statements. She said nothing. Her mouth was open. Her eyes were wide. I looked at Derek. He had not moved from the bottom of the steps. His face was gray. Did you know? I asked him. He did not answer. He did not need to. Someone in the crowd gasped. Another person whispered something. The mood shifted like a tide pulling out. Marcus, I said, would you explain what happens next? Marcus stepped forward. He pulled a document from inside his jacket. The quitclaim deed dated May 20th has been voided and recorded as null. The property remains solely in Robert Hayes' name. Furthermore, the forgery has been reported to the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office. He looked at Vanessa. They are sending an officer to this address. Vanessa made a sound. It was not a word. It was a small, strangled noise. Her mother stepped forward from the crowd. Vanessa, what have you done? Vanessa turned to Derek. Say something! Derek lifted his head. He looked at her. Then he looked at me. His eyes were wet. I'm sorry, Dad, he said. I'm so sorry. A whisper ran through the crowd. He knew? He knew? A woman in a blue dress put down her plate and walked toward the house. Another followed. Then another. The party was dissolving. Vanessa stood alone in the center of the deck. Her dress was stained with wine. Her mascara was beginning to run. "You can't do this," she said to me. "This is my family. This is my life." I said nothing. A car door slammed in the driveway. Then another. 2 police officers walked around the side of the house. They approached Vanessa with calm, practiced steps. One of them held a piece of paper. "Vanessa Hayes," the officer said. "You're under arrest for forgery and identity theft." Vanessa did not resist. She stood frozen as the officer read her rights. Her mother turned away. Her sister walked inside. Her friends melted into the crowd. The officer guided Vanessa toward the driveway. She looked back once. Her eyes met mine, and I did not smile. I did not nod. I simply held her gaze until she looked away. When the police car pulled out onto the main road, I turned to find Marcus standing beside me. "Robert," he said quietly, "there's one more thing. The buyer's attorney's going to want a word." I nodded. Behind us, the deck was empty. Plates of food sat untouched. A champagne glass shard glinted in the afternoon sun, wedged between 2 boards near where Vanessa had stood. Derek was still standing at the bottom of the steps. He had not moved. I walked inside the house. I closed the door behind me. "Go!" The screen door clicked shut behind me. The party sounds, the muffled conversations, the clinking glasses had already faded to nothing. I stood in the entryway for a long moment, listening to the silence. My hands were steady. I needed them to be. I walked to the home office at the back of the house. It was a small room, barely 8 by 10, with a single window overlooking the lake. I had spent 30 years in this room, going over surveys, paying taxes, signing documents. I sat down at the desk and pulled open the bottom drawer. The trust documents were right where I had always kept them, in a burgundy folder marked "Collins, Family Trust." I lifted it out and set it on the blotter. The Hayes Family Trust held $800,000 in assets, money my wife had helped build before she passed. Money meant for care, for emergencies, for the future. I had added Derek as a beneficiary when he turned 30, thinking he would be responsible, thinking he would honor the trust we placed in him. I uncapped a pen and wrote the amendment by hand. Statement of revocation. Effective immediately, Derek Hayes' access to the Hayes Family Trust is hereby revoked. All rights and access to trust assets are terminated, though his beneficiary status remains unchanged. I signed it. I dated it. June 14, 2025. I slid the single document into a fresh envelope and sealed it. Then I picked up the phone and called Linda. She answered on the first ring. "Robert!" I heard. "News travels fast," I said. "I had a friend at the party." She called me. Linda paused. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said. "I need you to do something for me. I need you to notarize a revocation document today. It revokes Derek's access to the family trust. You don't waste time. He had 24 hours to do the right thing. He chose not to." "I'll be at my office in 30 minutes, Linda said. "I'll handle the will tomorrow if you want." "Tomorrow works," I said. "I'll bring the papers by in the morning." I hung up and looked at my phone. The buyer's attorney. Linda had given me the number the day before, just in case. I scrolled through my contacts and found it. Andrew Martinez, one of the top real estate litigators in South Lake Tahoe. I pressed call. "Martinez Law. This is Robert Hayes. I'm the owner of the property your client made an offer on." A pause. "Mr. Hayes, I was just about to call you. My client received a notice that the sale had fallen through. Your client sent $50,000 in earnest money to my daughter-in-law," I said. "Vanessa Hayes. She spent it. I have bank statements proving it. I also have a recorded phone call where she admits the entire scheme, including arranging the unauthorized sale and taking the earnest money." Another pause, longer this time. "You have a recording?" "I have the original file. I also have a handwriting analysis from an expert with 32 years of experience, confirming the signature was forged with 99.7% confidence. The deed has been voided by the county recorder's office, and Vanessa was just arrested at my house. Arrested? Forgery and identity theft, I said. The police officers are processing her right now. I'll be filing a civil suit first thing Monday morning, he said. Can you send me copies of everything you mentioned? I'll have them to you by email within the hour. Mr. Hayes, he said, I have to say, this is the most prepared case I've ever seen from someone who just discovered the fraud 3 weeks ago. I'm a surveyor, I said. I measure things. I document things. It's what I do. I hung up and walked back to the living room. The caterers were packing up. 2 women in white aprons moved silently through the kitchen, wrapping platters of uneaten food in plastic. The front door was open. I could see guests moving toward their cars in small clusters, speaking in hushed voices. Derek was still on the deck. He had not moved from the bottom of the steps. I walked out and stood at the top of the stairs. He looked up at me. His face was pale. His eyes were red. "Dad," he said, his voice cracked. I did not answer. The police car was gone now. The driveway was empty except for Derek's sedan and Marcus's truck. A single helium balloon drifted across the lawn, its string trailing behind it. Derek walked up the steps slowly, like each one cost him something. He stopped 2 feet away from me. "Dad, I'm sorry." I looked at him. The son I had raised, the boy I had taught to fish off this dock, to tie knots, to read a compass, the man who had stood by and watched his wife steal my home. "Sorry, doesn't undo forgery, Derek." He flinched. "Get your things," I said. "You're not staying here tonight." "Where am I supposed to go?" "The motel on Highway 50 can't be full yet." He opened his mouth to say something, then closed it. He turned and walked inside without another word. I stood on the deck and watched the lake. Boo! The water was calm. The sun was warm on my face. Behind me, I heard Derek moving to the house, gathering his belongings. I did not turn around. The El Dorado County District Attorney filed charges the following Tuesday. Vanessa Hayes, forgery, identity theft, grand theft by embezzlement. The charges carried a potential sentence of 5 to 7 years in state prison. I read the complaint in Linda's living room, a cup of coffee growing cold in my hand. Linda had printed the whole thing from the county website. 47 pages. She watched me read it over her reading glasses, not saying a word. "She's claiming it was a mistake," I said finally. "That she thought I'd agreed." Linda snorted. "She forged your signature on a quitclaim deed, Robert." "That's not a misunderstanding. That's a crime." I nodded. I folded the papers and slid them back into her manila folder. Ooh. Vanessa's real estate license was revoked in August. I read that in the newspaper, not from any family member. The California Department of Real Estate published a notice of suspension and revocation. She did not contest it. There was no point. No brokerage would insure her after a felony charge. I thought about the houses she had sold, the commissions she had earned, the career she had built on charm and a smooth voice. All of it gone because she could not wait for me to die. Derek called me in September. I had not spoken to him since the night of the party. He had stayed at the motel on Highway 50 for 3 weeks. Then he had found an apartment in South Lake Tahoe, a 1-bedroom above a garage. "Dad," he said. His voice was hollow. "I need to tell you something." I waited. Vanessa opened credit cards in my name. 3 of them. I found the statements in a box she left behind. $15,000 in debt. I didn't know. I closed my eyes. Of course she had. A woman who forged her father-in-law's name would not stop at 1 signature. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know I've said that before. But I didn't know about the cards. I swear." "Swear means nothing, Derek. Evidence does." He was silent for a long time. "I filed for divorce." I let that sit. "She signed the papers yesterday," he said. "She's not contesting it. She's in jail, Dad. She's looking at prison time, and she signed the papers. What did you expect her to do?" "I don't know. I thought maybe—" He stopped. "I don't know what I thought." The divorce was finalized later that September. I did not attend the hearing. Derek told me about it over coffee at a diner in town. We sat at a booth by the window. The lake was visible in the distance, gray under an overcast sky. The judge asked her if she understood the terms, he said. She said yes. She didn't look at me once. I drank my coffee. I'm selling the house, he said. Our house. I can't afford it alone, and I don't want to live there anymore. I nodded. He looked at me. Dad, I know you can't forgive me. I know that. But I want to try. To make things right. Even if it takes years. I set down my cup. Derek, I am not going to pretend this didn't happen. You knew. You let it happen. You lied by silence. He looked down at the table. Trust takes years to build, I said. It can be destroyed in a single afternoon. Do you understand that? Yes? Then we start there. I sold the lake house in November, not to a developer, not to a family looking for a vacation home. I sold it to the Lake Tahoe Conservation Trust for $1.1 million. They planned to maintain the property as a wildlife preserve. The house would become a field station for researchers. The dock where I had taught Derek to fish would be used by biologists studying the lake's ecosystem. It felt right. I signed the papers in Marcus Chen's office. He shook my hand and said it was an honor to help close this chapter. You did the right thing, Robert, he said. I did the legal thing, I said. The right thing would have been never needing to do it at all. He smiled. That's the difference between a good man and a bitter one. You know the difference. I did not answer. I used the money to travel. That was the plan I had made in the quiet weeks after the party, sitting on a borrowed chair in Linda's guest room. I had spent 30 years building a life around that lake house. 3 decades of summers, holidays, repairs, and memories. It was time to see something else. I went to New Zealand first. Then to the Scottish Highlands. I walked along cliffs and through forests and stood at the edge of fjords. I photographed mountains and talked to strangers and ate meals alone in small restaurants where nobody knew my name. I sent Derek a postcard from every country. Not a letter, just a postcard, a sentence or two. Watched the sunrise from a glacier. Wish you could have seen it. The whiskey here is better than I expected. Rain today. Reminds me of Tahoe. He sent back texts, short ones. Glad you're safe. Looks beautiful. When are you coming home? I did not answer that last question. By the time I returned, 6 months had passed. I moved into a small apartment in South Lake Tahoe, walking distance from the lake. I did not go near the old property. I did not need to. The memories were not in the house anymore. They were in me. Derek and I started meeting for coffee once a week. We started talking about small things at first. His job, my travels, the weather. Then slowly, carefully, we started talking about the big things. The trust that had been broken, what it would take to rebuild it. It was not easy. It was not fast. But it was real. One afternoon, sitting on a bench overlooking the water, Derek turned to me and said, Dad, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know that I'm trying to be better. I looked at the lake. The water was calm. The sun was warm on my face. I know you are, I said. That matters. He did not say anything else. Neither did I. We sat there for a long time, watching the water. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. If this story reminded you of something in your own life, share it in the comments. And if you want to hear more, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll be back with another story soon.